"I wish for 200 pounds, said the old man distinctly. A fine crash on the piano greeted the words, interrupted by a shuddering cry from the old man. "It moved," he cried, "as I wished to twist it in my hand like a snake." "Well, I don't see the money," said his son, as he picked it up and placed it on the table. "Never mind, though, there's no harm done, but it gave me a shock all the same." "I expect you'll find the cash tied up in a big bag in the middle of your bed," said Herbert. He fell on the table for a glass containing a little water to throw over it. His hand grasped the monkey's paw, and with a little shiver he wiped his hand on his coat and went up to bed. "What's the matter?" His wife made no reply. She was watching the mysterious movements of a man outside. She brought the stranger, who seemed ill at ease, into the room. "I was asked to call," he said at last. "I come from Ma and Megan's." The old woman started. "Is anything the matter? Has anything happened to Herbert?" "I'm sorry," began the visitor. "Is he hurt?" demanded the mother. "Badly hurt," he said quietly. "He was caught in the machinery," said the visitor at length, in a low voice. "Caught in the machinery," repeated Mr. White in a dazed fashion. "Yes. He was the only one left to us. It is hard. The firm wished me to convey their sincere sympathy with you in your great loss," he said. "I beg that you will understand I am only their servant and merely obeying orders." There was no reply. "I was to say that Ma and Megan's disclaim all responsibility," continued the other. "They admit no liability at all, but in consideration for your son's services, they wish to present you with a certain sum as compensation." Mr. White dropped his wife's hand, rising to his feet. "How much?" £200, was the answer. In the huge new cemetery, some 2 miles distant, the old people buried their dead, and came back to a house steeped in shadow and silence. "The paw!" she cried wildly. "The monkey's paw!" He started up in alarm. "What's the matter?" "I want it," she said quietly. "Why?" "The other 2 wishes," she replied rapidly. "We've only had 1. "Get it," she panted. "Get it quickly and wish. Oh, my boy, my boy! We had the first wish granted. Why not the second?" "A coincidence," stammered the old man. "Go and get it and wish," cried the old woman. He went down in the darkness and felt his way to the parlor and then to the mantelpiece. "Wish!" she cried in a strong voice. He raised his hand. "I wish my son alive again." The talisman fell to the floor and he regarded it fearfully. Then he sank trembling into a chair as the old woman, with burning eyes, walked to the window and raised the blind. "What's that?" cried the old woman. A loud knock resounded through the house. "It's Herbert!" she screamed. "It's Herbert!" She ran to the door, but her husband was before her. "It's my boy! It's Herbert!" she cried, struggling mechanically. "For God's sake, don't let him in!" cried the old man, trembling. The old woman, with a sudden wrench, broke free and ran for the room. Her husband followed to the landing and called after her appealingly as she hurried downstairs. He heard the creaking of the bowl as it came slowly back. At the same moment he found the monkey's paw and frantically breathed his third and last wish. The knocking ceased suddenly, although the echoes of it were still in the house. He heard the chair drawn back and the door opened. A cold wind rushing up the staircase and a long, loud wail of disappointment and misery from his wife gave him courage to run down to her side and then to the gate beyond. The street lamp flickering outside shone on a quiet and deserted road.